Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist? Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
And today we will be talking about the View Askewniverse. Yes, Kevin Smith's archive of movies that take place in the same universe, which include Jay and Silent Bob, Clerks, Mallrats, Dogma, even Chasing Amy and Geely to some effect. It's a whole bunch of crazy stuff that we got to talk about. Especially this wonderful, wonderful man, Kevin Smith, who is a New Jersey resident. I am not a New Jersey resident, nor have I ever been. My parents now are, but you have been.
Yes, my whole life.
Yes, so it must be nice. You've got a little hometown hero there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of little hometown heroes that you got in New Jersey. You got him, and you got Diamond Dallas Page. You've got, you got Frank Sinatra.
Jack Nicholson.
Really? Jack Nicholson's from there?
Yep.
I had no freaking idea.
I think New Jersey tends to have a lot of famous people just on, by virtue of the fact that we're the most populated state. So, statistically, we just have more famous people. We're the most densely populated state, I should say.
Oh, I didn't
California
know that.
is technically the most populated, but New Jersey has the most people per square mile.
Huh.
Because we're such a tiny state, but we have so many people packed into it.
Cool. I did not know that at all. All right.
Yeah.
Before we get started on the show, you can help support us if you want to kick back a little bit of money. You could send us a couple of bucks over for some bonus stuff, which would be watch-alongs, listen-alongs, excess banter, watching some wrestling match stuff with us while we do our own weird little commentary over it. And you can even pick your own show that that we'll get to. So you pick the topic, and we'll do it we will do a whole episode based on whatever it is that you want us to talk about, which is cool. But you can only do that if you give us a couple of bucks by heading over to Patreon. That's patreon.com/whydoesthisexist. And we would really appreciate if you did that for us. It would be a really nice thing to do, and we would thank you, give you a shout out, and say, hey, this person's really cool. You should be friends with them because they gave us money. But also, since they gave us money and they have it out of the kindness of their heart, we'd like to probably be friends with them in real life if they would be okay with that. But they're very cool, so help us out. Patreon.com/whydoesthisexist. And if you know of any weird things going on that are happening, have happened, or will happen in pop culture, whether it's a product, a video game, a TV show, a toy, a weird wrestling thing, or a movie of some kind, you can let us know at whydoesthisexistshow@gmail.com for all that info. And you can also subscribe, and comment on our YouTube channel. Let us know about some weird stuff on our YouTube channel also by commenting. That would be really, really helpful. Not just for the algorithm, but also just because it will give us some feedback and let us know if what we're doing is a good thing or if we suck at our jobs. So just let us know. Patreon.com/whydoesthisexist, whydoesthisexistshow@gmail.com, and the YouTube channel Why Does This Exist. You can also find us on digital media device land at the following places: Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, TuneIn, Alexa, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, and anywhere else that you can find your podcasts. We would greatly appreciate us. Find our stuff, like it, subscribe to it, dedicate your life to it, join our cult and listen to our things, drink our Kool-Aid, try the veal. Let's get started with the goddamn show. Kevin Smith.
Yes.
Arguably the most, well, I can't say the most famous, but one of the most famous people from New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the most well-liked people from New Jersey, if not the most liked person in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Really big fan of his. How big? I've owned his book Tough Shit 3 times. I bought it once. I donated it. My brother bought me a second copy last year for my birthday that was signed by him at Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash over in Red Bank, New Jersey. Yes, the show from comic book. Yes, the store from the show Comic Book Men. That store, it's really cool. They just recently moved to a new location, like up the street. I haven't been to it. I haven't been in that store since.
I haven't been to the new location either yet.
I haven't been to the old location since before the pandemic. So.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. And at the time, they were just getting rid of their hockey jerseys, and I didn't have the money to like get it. And then they did the clearance sale, and then I was like, oh damn it, I should have bought the damn Buddy Christ hockey jersey, and now they're out of them. But I have a Monroeville Zombies hockey jersey from the movie Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which I don't know if it's part of the View Askewniverse.
It's technically not, but there's references to it. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot. See, it's Kevin Smith's. All of Kevin Smith's movies are kind of sort of linked, but even if the ones that are not considered in the View Askewniverse, the View Askewniverse ones are pretty well documented and laid out in a certain way. But there's references to the other movies or to the View Askewniverse in his other movies that kind of like almost link it together, but not quite. I think specifically, I think in Zack and Miri Make a Porno, like the lawyer, some like lawyer character from that is also in Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I believe.
He is.
Yeah, so there's like subtle hints, but it's not like
he's not a lawyer in Zack and Miri Make a Porno yet. He's like
right.
He's a gay porn star
Oh.
or gay porn director or something like that in that movie.
Yeah, I would say that they're more Easter eggs in Kevin Smith's other movies. It's more like Easter eggs to the View Askewniverse, whereas the View Askewniverse has very clear links. Like there's the characters are the same in almost every movie. Like there's the same actors. They might play different characters, but they also are like recurring characters.
Yeah.
So, and of course, Jay and Silent Bob are pretty much I'm pretty sure in every View Askewniverse movie. So, Jay and Silent Bob are like the nexus, basically.
Right. That's like the main link is Jay and Silent Bob. But anyway, so my brother bought me the second copy, the autographed book of Tough Shit from Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. It's cool because he has a bunch of like, Jay and Silent Bob and like Clerks and Kevin Smith related things in there that are signed, but that he like hand signs, and they get boxes of stuff that's just signed by him. So I wonder if he just comes to town and just takes out a day to just like check. I guess a day when he checks in on the store and he just like hand signs a handful of things on the shelf just to put them back on the shelf and then goes home. Yeah. Or if he just orders stuff to his house, signs it, and then ships it back over there. I mean, it's a cool thing. But anyway, so that's the second time was last year when my brother bought it for me for my 30th birthday. And then this year, my brother forgot And I mean, he got me a really great little gift card to the stash, which when I do eventually go see my parents again, when everybody's fully vaccinated and all that, they which should be like mid next month. My brother ends up buying me Tough Shit again this year, and I was like, and this time the signature is bigger, and I was like, oh, you got me this last year, I still own it, but this one has a bigger signature, so now I don't know if I want to keep it or not.
Yeah.
But you should probably get your money back for it or keep the book. So you know what? I see what you can do on that, and that's that. Sorry, but remember what you bought, people. And that's how I owned his book 3 times. But
nice.
Chances are, if I ended up donating the book again, I would probably want to end up buying it again. So I think that's just one of those books that I will probably hold on to forever, because it's a really good book. Like, Tough Shit is his autobiography, and I think it goes up to like 2009 or something like that. It's really good. It's a really good book. The only thing that dates it is he praises and thanks Harvey Weinstein a lot, because Harvey Weinstein, the Weinstein Company, is who gave him his break after the Clerks movie.
Yeah.
Miramax picked up Clerks and essentially made his life. So, you know, in the book, of course, he's very grateful, but this is well before the Me Too movement happened when the book ends. So maybe it doesn't end at like 2008 or 9. Maybe it's like closer to 2007. Yeah, probably 2007-ish or something like that. I don't know. I got to look at it. But he... no, it's later because he mentions Red State. So maybe like 2012.
Yeah, but the Me Too movement really didn't start until like way later than that, even.
Well, yeah,
like the 2015 or 2016.
Right, so like it had been a while. Yeah, it might have been 2011 or 12, because I think the last thing that he had done was Red State, according to that book. So it might be like 2012 or 2013, because I don't think Tusk had happened yet, because I don't think he mentions Tusk. Which those two are part of a separate universe that he did. It's like it's like a horror universe. Yeah, it's part of a trilogy called they're all set in Canada, and it's called the True North trilogy. The third one is Yoga Hosers, which stars his daughter Harley Quinn, which I think is cool. I think it's really cool, and like just shows, you know, what a good dude that he is. I'm not saying like you're a great person if you cast your kid in your movies. It's just like he doesn't do it because he wants his kid to have an acting career. He's not like, oh well, my kid's not that good, so I'm just gonna put her in my movies. Like he does it because it's another way for him to like spend time with his daughter and bond with his daughter. Like it all comes from the heart. You know, and even like his wife, like Jen Schwalbach, she's in Clerks 2 as Dante. She's in actually
several of the View Askewniverse movies. She's also in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Is she?
Yes, she is one of the she's one of the girls that's with Justice in like the gang that steals the diamonds.
Really?
Yep.
Oh. So she's the third one, because it's Ali Larder, and it's,
yes.
What the hell is her name? The girl who was on, why am I blanking at her name? The main one.
Yeah.
Boo Boo Kitty Fuck. What the hell is her
No,
real
well, that's
name
Justice. Yeah.
No, that's Justice, but I mean, what's the actress's name?
Good question.
God, why don't I know this? I'm drawing a blank on the worst. You know what? I have Wikipedia in front of me. I'm an idiot. Let me look at that, because Wikipedia is always
Shannon Elizabeth.
There we go.
Justice.
I kept thinking Shannon Doherty, but Shannon Doherty is in the other. She's in Mallrats.
Yeah.
No, isn't Elijah Dushku the other one?
Isn't she the third girl in there? Yeah, I think. Yeah, maybe I think
is,
so.
Yeah, so who's Jen Schwalbach then?
She's
Who's his wife?
Missy.
And Missy. Oh, there's a third. I forgot there was a fourth one.
Yeah, there's four of them. Yeah.
I thought that there was three for some reason. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but but it's cool because he doesn't do it out of like a, oh, let me just like push my family to the moon.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of people who do that where it's like, oh, let me just put my family in this because, you know, my kid wants to be an actor and they suck at it, so like I'm just gonna put them in there anyway.
Well, I mean, a good portion of the cast of the View Askewniverse were people that were he was friends with that starred in Clerks because it was just like his friends.
No, I
Like, and it's like,
know.
oh, I'm making a movie. Do you want to be in this movie? And they're like, yeah. And then like they became actors because they were in Clerks. They weren't even pretending to become actors. It's just like they did it as because they were friends with Kevin Smith.
No, it's
And
very
like
cool.
he just made them actors basically because he put them in like all of his movies.
Yeah, there was like a thing. There was a thing, like about 2 Novembers ago, like just before the pandemic happened. That my dad and I went to. It was like a little. It was in like a community theater in like. I'm pretty sure it was in Hazlitt, or if it was, or it might have been the town over. But there's like a little community theater on the train tracks. Well, not literally, but next to it. It would be kind of hard to do, uh, and people would get mowed down. But but there's like a little community theater in like in or around Hazlitt. I don't remember exactly like what town it is. But what's his name? Brian O'Halloran, who's Dante in
Yes.
Clerks.
Yes.
He just was there as like, you know, one of the like as a local celebrity appearance.
Yeah.
So he came through and he like I think he grew up in the township or something like that, and he was just kind of like giving back, or they were like, hey, let's just get somebody, and he was there and he was selling. I think he might live in New York now because I know he's on like an amateur hockey team or like a bush league hockey team or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think they're called like the Hell's Kitchen Devils or something like that, or the Hell's or like I forget the exact name, but they were like the Hell's Kitchen whatever it is that they are, and he was selling the jersey, and yeah, which was kind of cool, but the jersey was just overpriced. Like he was selling it for like I think it was selling it for like $150 or $200 or something like that. It may have been signed, which is a nice touch, but I was like, I'm not gonna pay this much money for like an unknown thing. I mean, I'm like not God. That sounds snobby. I'm not gonna like. I was just like, I'm not gonna like. All right, let me take my foot out of my mouth. I already said it. I sound like a douchebag, so it doesn't. It's too late to take it back. But you know what I mean.
Asshole.
But it was just like one of those things where I was like, yeah, it's really cool. I like the design, but it's just too expensive. I'm just I'm not gonna buy it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't really like feel it, so I don't know how the material is. I can't speak to the material. But like to me, it just did not seem worth the investment. Maybe at some point in the who knows? Maybe within the 2 years that I didn't buy it, it's gone up in value and like it's going on eBay for like $10 million, and I'm an idiot. So if that happens, I deserve it.
Yeah.
I had a chance to buy it, didn't buy it, so now the universe will punish me for it. But the View Askewniverse, just it's named after Kevin Smith's production company, View Askew Productions, which he co-founded with his buddy Scott Mosier. So Kevin Smith, his dad was his dad was like a postman. So his dad was a postal worker, and when he was fairly young. his dad introduced him to George Carlin, and like his dad would like they put on HBO and they would watch George Carlin together, and this was like a fond memory of his. And George Carlin later ended up appearing in several of his movies, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I guess that shaped his comedic. I guess that shaped his like comedy writing or his sense of humor a lot, because as a kid he remembered very fondly. Just like he didn't spend a whole lot of time with his dad, but like like some of the better memories that he has is just the two of them just sitting there watching George Carlin laughing together. And just like, he just kind of is like, comedy brought us together, comedy brings family together, and like, he would throw in this like stuff, and it can get pretty raunchy, but I don't think it gets, well, I mean, I think only every once in a while it gets pretty damn raunchy, but I don't think it gets enough to where you're like, oh, this is disgusting, I'm turning off the channel. Well, maybe I don't know, the chocolate covered pretzel might do that for like certain parents for Mallrats, but I mean, and Kinky Kelly and the stud, his later movies get worse, but for the most part, earlier on,
Clerks is pretty tame. Clerks is more like implied.
Yeah, he toes the line. They all get the R rating, so I guess like when he pushes for the R rating, he makes sure that he gets the R rating. He's not gonna like just do the bare minimum to get the R rating. He's gonna push it, but it's still like funny. It's not like, oh, this is like just stupid. He's having it or anything like that. It's well thought out and it's funny. I like his approach to things.
Yes,
and I think Carlinism had a great impact on that, because George Carlin is very much like that too. Like, it isn't just like, it's philosophical in his approach. It's not like like with George Carlin, it's not like, oh, here's a thing, let me spell it out for you. It's a lot of it is just thinking. A lot of it you have to think about it. He's a thinking man's comic. He's a philosopher. He's not he's a comedian, but he was more of a philosopher, especially in his later years. George Carlin, he's I mean, the other thing is, like, he was a little bit more bitter towards the end, because it wasn't one of those things where he was working because he was doing what he loved. It wasn't like, I love doing comedy, so I'm going to keep working as long as I can. He was heavily in debt to the IRS for like tax evasion, or like not paying his taxes. Yeah. Which I had read his book a while ago, George Carlin too. And he I believe he thought that he paid his taxes, and it was like he like had like a shady Hollywood accountant, basically, which this happens regularly to a lot of people who, to like a lot of people who end up getting famous, or they end up like this happens to a lot of athletes and things like that, and they'll get like some like some like shady accountant, which like maybe the studio will recommend or something, like, and oh, I don't really know too much about my taxes, what I do with my taxes, all right, here we recommend this guy does that, and like the whole time you think that this guy is doing your taxes, and he's doing your accounting and everything, and you call him up maybe once a year or whatever, and you're like, hey, hey, so and so, like, what's going on? Are my taxes okay? Is everything all right? Yeah, sure. Don't worry about it. And we paid him. We paid everything. We're good. You don't owe any money. You're fine. Meanwhile, the guy's putting it in his own pocket the entire time, and 30 years later, the IRS knocks on your door and says, hey, where's our money? And then you're like, no, I paid you. And they're like, no, you didn't. And there's no paper trail to the accountant, because the guy knows what he's doing, and it's just like, oh, crap. Like, now what do I do? So George Carlin was heavily in debt to the IRS in his later, his later years, and he had to just work until he died, basically, because the IRS will put all these penalties and all these things just to make sure that you never get ahead and you never get out. Yeah. So, the IRS is... It's
assholes.
Yeah, the
IRS sucks. I'm not afraid to say it.
No, they do suck. It's the IRS is the gift that keeps on taking.
Yeah. So they're not even a gift. They're a fucking curse.
They're Uncle Sam's gift. but that's we don't necessarily like the IRS on that show, but we pay our taxes like normal people, unless TurboTax or
TurboTax is a shady account.
Yeah, or Credit Karma, and so, like, but then you got a big class action lawsuit, so I don't think that they actually. I'm pretty sure they're legit.
Yeah.
As opposed to certain people that in this world. I think it's okay if you're going to do these things, and also, hey, why don't we have a taxpayer sponsor? Tax season has been pushed back to May 15th. So if you have not done your taxes, one, don't worry about it for now, but make sure that you do it by April 15th. May 15th. April 15th is a normal day. Yeah, it has. Yeah, all right. Well, under normal circumstances, your ass would be grass and the IRS would be the lawnmower. But because we're in a very special predicament, you gotta wait. You have gotten an extra month to do your taxes. So just head on over to TurboTax or Credit Karma or one of those lovely places. Except maybe H&R Block, because
they charge a lot.
They do charge a lot. So try to find some place that's going to charge you very little to nothing, and there are places. Don't let anybody push you around and make excuses. We used to go to H&R Block, and the lady, we thought she was looking out for us. I won't tell her name because she's not a public figure. This lady that was doing our taxes for years was like, oh, here's an extra this, here's an extra that. Oh, look how much money I saved you. And then it was like, and then, 1 year the refund was a lot less, and we had to pay out a lot more. And it was like, wait, what happened? Oh, you have to blame President Trump for this because he did this extra stuff, and now we have to add these things, and now it's, it's like $40 for every form you have or whatever. Mm-hmm. So sorry, not sorry. There's nothing I can do, and then the next year I went to TurboTax and I was like, what the hell? This lady ripped me off by $400 that I will never see.
Yeah.
Like what the F? I'm never doing this again. So not cool.
Yeah.
Not cool at all. So if you can find a company that will do it for very little to nothing, go right ahead. TurboTax or Credit Karma are very good. I liked TurboTax. Credit Karma I used this year because Credit Karma is it's actually a free filing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the first year that you do it.
I think TurboTax is free if you're under a certain income.
For the first year.
TurboTax is free if you're all the time, if you're under a certain income level or something.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
It's possible.
Credit Karma was just free too. It was it wasn't an income thing. It just is.
Because technically, it's free to file your tax. You could just go to the IRS website and file.
No, it is. You can do it. You can
your taxes, but you have to know what the hell you're doing. That's the problem.
Right. Right. I mean, these softwares like TurboTax and Credit Karma.
It's make it easier.
Yeah.
It's just plug in how much money you made and are you taking any deductions, and that's pretty much it.
Yes, TurboTax and Credit Karma. Taxes made easy. I'm pretty sure that's a slogan for one of them.
Probably.
Anyway, back to George Carlin. So he was doing all the so he owed the IRS a lot of money because of a shady accountant or something like that. He didn't pay his taxes, and he had to work until he died. So as he got older into later HBO specials, he stops being comedic and is just more of just him venting, which a lot of it is still good because it's still he still tells it, he still breaks it down and just kind of exposes it because that was always his thing.
Yeah.
But it's much darker, and it's much more there's more contempt behind it. He's not doing it to get a laugh. He's doing it because he's I'm just gonna talk. It's more spoken word than comedy.
Yeah, but people laugh at it because the way he's very animated and stuff. And
right. I mean, he's one of my favorites, George Carlin.
But he's just raging about the government and corporations and which
Yes.
he always did. If you look at
He always did.
you can watch like the old SNL. Like he hosted the first SNL ever.
Yeah.
And basically his whole opening monologue was about like how like the government sucks and they're going to screw you over and stuff. So
I mean, it's true.
He always had that kind of like, distrust of the government and corporations, and it's a big club and you ain't in it, that kind of thing.
But he was right.
Yeah,
every single thing that he said and predicted came true eventually. Like, he predicted political correctness, like, decades before it happened, and he, like, he caught on to it, and he, like, saw it happening, and he died before it started to really take hold, but he died as it was taking shape, and he was calling it out as it was happening.
Yeah.
Like, the last stuff that he was calling out was when they started doing the participation trophies. Like, he has, like in one of his last specials, I think it was Life's Worth Losing was the special, and he was like, so everybody gets to participate, so the kids get participation trophies, and they don't learn anything because now they're just taught that everyone is special, and they're like, well, when you become an adult, you stop. Like, at what point do you go from being special to just get the fuck out, you know? Where he's like, Timmy grew up every day thinking that he was special, and he got a participation trophy for me, and like he was rewarded for his mediocrity and all this other stuff. And then one day, Jimmy graduated college, where he was also told he was special and he was going to change the world and be me, and like he was okay just being him because he was special and he didn't have to do anything extra or anything like that. And then one day, Jimmy gets a job, and his boss is an asshole, and nobody gives a shit about how special he was. And like one day, Jimmy gets fired, and his boss goes, "Jimmy, get the fuck out! You're a loser." And it was great, but it's true. It's true. Like there's a lot of mediocrity that's just rewarded now, and I think it's just stupid. But George Carlin predicted absolutely everything that happened as it was happening. He indicated all of the corruption that was going on in the world, and he just called it out. And it was brilliant the way that he did it. And like it was more like watching George Carlin is like going to church, essentially. Like you're not getting just comedy, you're not just laughing, you're getting a sermon.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful one. He also has a special that never happened. I saw this on Joe Rogan, and then we can actually like get back to Kevin Smith and the View Askewniverse, which we haven't totally started yet. I mean, we tend to do this, but you know, this is a podcast. It's unscripted. It's out. It's got warts and all. And if you like it, cool. If you don't, sorry. What can I tell you?
Why are you listening?
Yeah. Or if you don't like it, just let us. Or if you don't like it, email us at whydoesthisexistshow@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel, and just simple as that. Tell us how we're doing.
If you don't like the show, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube.
Or dislike. I don't care. It helps.
No, don't dislike. Like, comment, and subscribe. That's how you. And tell us how much you don't like us.
Yeah. Thumbs up. These guys suck. That would be beautiful. Yeah. Just keep doing that. So the last tidbit that I have to say about George Carlin is he did have a special. I saw this on Joe Rogan, but he had a special that was never released. I don't know if somebody has it somewhere stashed away. He had like an HBO special or something like that he never released. And I don't know if they've burned it or destroyed it, or if it's just in a vault somewhere. But the name of the special was "I Kind of Like It When People Die."
Okay.
That has nothing to do with why. The reason why it never aired is because it was supposed to air on September 11th. 2001. And we all know what happened on September 11th, 2001.
Right.
The Twin Towers were hit by well, the two planes crashed into the Twin Towers and destroyed them.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to get into detail on that. If you can find it. Like you can find an episode of the Bonesaw, my old podcast, where I talk to Henry from Witch Haven, and we talk about 9/11. So if you wanna try to find that would be really great, and I would appreciate that. So you can learn a little bit about my experience that day and his experience. Two people on opposite sides of the United States and how they're reacting to it. Witch Haven actually has a song. I think it's Terror Storm. It's about 9/11 actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so George Carlin has that particular special. So they pulled it and they were like, "No, we can't air this. Do you see what happened?" He was like, "All right, fine. Like then, I guess it's just not gonna be there." So they have yet to release it. They've never released it. I don't know if it still even exists anymore.
I'm sure it's somewhere. It's probably in like some vault somewhere.
I would think so, but who the hell knows? Anyway, so Kevin Smith, he always, was enamored with films and he wanted to make movies, and by hook or crook, the guy was going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, "You know what? I'm gonna do it. I don't care." He just never let anybody tell him no.
Yeah.
And he knew Jason Mewes, who is Jay of Jay and Silent Bob. He just said, "You know what? I'm going to do this." And he brought Jason Mewes along for the ride too. But Kevin Smith, he went to high school. He dropped out of college. He went to the new school in New York City. He didn't graduate. College dropout. He
attended the Vancouver Film School and also dropped out after 4 months.
Yeah, he had this, and he was working. He had this idea. I think he worked. Yeah, he worked at the Quick Check store, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
he worked at the store. So this is, how dedicated he was to this. He would work at the store during the day. And, basically Dante's day was Kevin Smith's day. He opened up at like 5 a.m., put the coffee up, because he had the morning rush, people going to work. Would open up at 5 a.m., work all day, and then close at like 10 p.m. or whatever, 11 p.m., and then film all night long because they couldn't film in the store while the store was open, obviously. So he would work all day, then film all night, and basically not sleep at all. He would like catch like an hour or two of sleep in between somewhere, basically. And actually, the reason why they have the plot where the shutters are stuck closed is because on all the interior shots it was nighttime, so they couldn't show the outside because then people would know it was dark out. So they basically had to only, they had to keep the shutters closed and that was the whole plot device of why the shutters were closed, because they were filming at night. So, and obviously establishing shots and, outside shots they filmed during the day. But, for the most part, that's what he did. He worked all day long and then filmed all night long and then opened up and worked all day long for the entire filming process.
I mean, it's clever and it makes sense.
Yeah,
he was inspired by this from Richard Linklater's movie Slacker, which I haven't seen. I got to admit, I've never seen this movie, but it's of, I imagine, a similar premise. But the thing that he took from it, I mean, I guess after he dropped out of school or whatever, he was like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do?" or whatever, and he was like, "Do I have to do a big soundstage, or do I have to go to a major city or anything like that? What do I do?" And he sees this movie, and Richard Linklater actually he set and shot the movie in his hometown of Austin, Texas. He didn't go anywhere. This was of course done a long time ago. The Slacker is it's a 1990 movie, but it was shot, I imagine, in the late 89-ish or something like that. And he, the guy did everything he needed to do. Kevin Smith sees and he's like, holy crap, I don't have to move it to Hollywood. I don't have to do all these things. I can still make movies here. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. And he started like just looking at independent filmmakers, and that's kind of what like kickstarted him to do what he wanted to do. And he got the job at the convenience store in Leonardo. He makes Clerks, and he maxes out more than a dozen credit cards. He sells his comic book collection. He does all this stuff to raise $27.5 grand, and he gets his friends in the movie because he couldn't really pay real actors. He could pay his friends a little bit, or like he could just, or like his friends could just, like some of them could just do it to help out.
Yeah. Oh, and for those who don't know, everyone, people think, oh, $27,000 is a lot of money. To make a film with $27,000, that's like 2 days. And like having like $1, but like that's such a small budget for a film. It's like almost impossible.
We'll put it this way: a small budget movie, I think, is less than. Hold on, let me look this up before I say something stupid.
I think like anything that's like $100,000 or less is considered low budget or something. Which again, $27,000 in movie terms is like nothing. That's like, if you bought a car at a used car lot that was like $10, that's like the equivalent.
Okay. Anything made with less than, this is from topsheet.io. The general consensus is that a feature made with less than a $2 million budget is considered low budget.
Yeah.
The average cost of a film, this is from September 2019, the average cost of a film running between 70 through 90 million. That number is flexible, but that's the spectrum that you're looking at.
We're talking about like a regular film.
I'm sorry.
This is like a regular film that's not even like, you think about these big budget blockbusters. They're spending like $200, $300, $400 million to make that, like Avengers, That's like a huge blockbuster movies they're making that are spending millions upon millions of dollars. So, $70 million, that's like an average film that's just like doesn't have a lot of special effects. It's just, it's just films are like incredibly expensive to make.
Yeah. And Kevin Smith ends up again, the the general consensus of a low budget movie is less than $2 million.
Yes.
Kevin Smith does this for $27,500, which I'm not sure how much that would be adjusted for inflation.
I don't know off the top of my head. I would imagine it's probably closer to like $100K today. But still, that's.
It was it was like 1990. It was like 1994. 94, yeah. So, inflation calculator.
I would imagine it's closer to 100,000 today because you have to imagine inflation. This is almost 30 years ago now. Everyone likes to.
The increase to $1 in 1994 to now is about $1.79, so it's about 2 to 1 almost.
Okay,
so
50,000.
It'll be about $50,000.
Yeah,
about
a little bit less than $50,000 probably.
Actually 27, so a little bit more. So probably closer to 60, but not all the way there, or 60 even. So the average salary for a year in New York is how much it would essentially cost to do this. Well, I don't even know if that's the average salary in New York. It might be closer to 50, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's like it would only be about like $60,000. That's like pennies for like in terms of movie budgets. And he did it, and he maxed out 12 credit cards and sold his comic book collection, and he just cast his friends and acquaintances in this movie, screened it at the Sundance Film, wins the Filmmakers Trophy. Harvey Weinstein sees him at a restaurant after the screening, says, hey, come over, come hang out, and he buys the movie. It goes to the Cannes Film Festival, in France it wins the Prix de la Jeunesse. I'm sorry if I'm butchering this. I'm not French. I don't know any French.
Yeah.
My bad. And the International Critics Week Prize. Then it gets, and then it ends up going, like, it had a limited release to, like, playing 50 markets, never playing on more than 50 screens at any time, and he ends up earning 3.1 million. That's crazy.
Yeah. And, obviously paid back the credit cards and
yeah, hands down.
Probably went right back to the comic book store and rebought his comic book collection.
Oh yeah, everybody suddenly had great credit scores.
Yeah.
But it's a testament that you have to be dedicated to something, you have to be passionate, you have to believe in it, and you have to surround yourself with other people that believe in it too, and it can work. It can work. I'm not going to sound like one of those help guru people where they're like, oh, the hard work is up to you. You have to do it. You're the reason that it lives or dies or it fails or succeeds. There's other factors too at play, but everything that you can control, I will say, everything that is within your control, if you can navigate those waters and end up making the right decisions out of it, chances are you'll be okay. And Kevin Smith did this. He just, he did everything that he needed to do, and it worked out by, like, stroke of luck. Yes, I will not, like, I'm sure, like, luck plays a part. It does play a part, but it was a good movie. It's still a good movie. It's still very funny.
Clerks is my favorite View Askewniverse movie, the original Clerks. I think it's his best movie, personally.
I mean, critically and financially, probably. It is probably his best movie.
Well, I mean, financially, he's made movies that have made, like, Chasing Amy made $12 million at the box office on a budget of $250,000.
Right.
So it's not necessarily his best performing. Well, maybe now it is because of home video release and like, he really parlayed Clerks into, like, an empire, essentially.
Yeah, I'm sure Clerks 2 did much better than Clerks 1. 25 million.
Yeah, so I mean,
$5 million to make.
I think original Clerks, though, is the best. Kevin Smith at his best in terms of obviously everyone wants to say, oh, low budget movies aren't that good, but you know what? I think filmmakers that have very low budgets learn to do things in a way that, like, makes it more interesting. The way they frame shots, the way they do things, like this, the production of it, they have to be a lot more creative in that because they only have that shoestring budget. And Kevin, so I think that's why Clerks kind of, like, worked. It was really, like, the perfect movie because it's like he had to find all these little creative ways to do, and it makes it, like, really like an artsy movie, like using, like, a black and white camera, like, for the simple fact because I'm pretty sure the reason why it was in black and white is because it was cheaper. And
yeah, it also helped with helped with the setting too, because, like, it's easier to hide that it was done at night, and it's also easier to hide the flaws.
Yes, yeah. Lighting is it. I think specifically lighting is way easier to do in black and white than it is on color. So it just worked, and it makes it look good. It makes the movie look good. It's like, it feels like it really is. It's like basically like a college film project. And
yeah, well, I think it set a template for a lot of college films and a lot of a lot of just, like, indie films in general. Yeah. We have a watch along for this, and we talked about it on the Napoleon Dynamite episode. The Palooka, which was which is the short film that inspired Napoleon Dynamite, and essentially was like the template for it. Yeah, and it was what got Napoleon Dynamite off the ground anyway. That's in black and white, and it references Clerks in multiple ways.
Yes.
So if there's no Clerks, then there might not be a Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, I think there wouldn't be a lot
It's a
of
lot of
independent
movies, I'm
films.
sure. Wouldn't be a
Kevin
lot of
Smith really
directors
did
either. He paved the way.
inspire. Yeah, exactly. He inspired these like hometown, like suburban kids to become filmmakers. Uh, I think a big part of the reason why I have such a attachment to Clerks, original Clerks, also is that growing up in New Jersey and like being a clerk for a good portion of my life, working as a clerk, it's like it feels I feel some kind of connection to that, because it's like my life basically, growing up in suburban New Jersey, you
Yeah,
know.
I remember. Well, I mean, Clerks was one of my. Clerks is always going to be one of my favorite movies. But I was about, I think I was like 13 the first time that I saw it,
Hmm.
and then I started watching all the other View Askewniverses because of course I did.
Yeah.
And I was like a punk skater kid. I was like a
Yeah.
metalhead skater kid in like high school and middle school. I I collected comic books, so like every
Hmm.
Wednesday I'd go to the comic book store when there was a comic book store near my house. I think it's a paint store or like a wedding cake store or something like that. Now I don't even know what it is because I haven't lived in my old neighborhood for like almost 2 years now, so I don't even know what
Yeah.
the hell it is. Um, and I think I've only gone back once, and I don't really have I don't really have any plans to go back.
Yeah.
Um, but I would every Wednesday, me and a couple of my friends, we would go to the comic book store. We'd buy our comic books, like Spawn, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four,
Hmm.
whatever the crossover event was. That's kind of like the stock of what we'd buy. Then we'd go through the books in the back that were like, back issues and stuff, just to try to like add things to our collection. I always did the '90s Todd McFarlane Spider-Man and like some of the '80s Spider-Mans too.
Hmm.
Like I was drawn to anything with Venom in it, really. So like Venom Ultimate Carnage,
Yeah.
or like anything Todd McFarlane related, like anything Black Suit Symbiote stuff I was really into, and also anything Spawn related. So like I've always been a Todd McFarlane guy. We could do a Spawn episode at one point too, which would be really neat. Um, but anyway, so we'd do that, and then we'd go to 7-Eleven, which was like a few blocks down the street, and then we'd get our Slurpees, we'd hang out, we'd drink the Slurpees, and we'd just kind of be we kind of emulate Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
We'd sit in front of the 7-Eleven, and and I would do this with my skateboard friends too. We'd skate, we'd go to 7-Eleven. That's
Hmm.
kind of what the day was. We'd skate, we'd go to 7-Eleven, and then we'd skate more. Um, and we'd just hang out there. I'd kind of game the system a little bit. I'd buy a Slurpee, I'd drink it halfway, I'd go back in and I'd refill it, and then
Hmm.
I'd do this like several times. So I was a chubby little. I was kind of chubby for a while, and hopped up on sugar. But you when you're like 13, 14, 15 years old, you don't think about that stuff.
Yeah.
And now I can't even drink Slurpees because I don't I don't do a lot of sugary stuff. I don't
Yeah.
even like soda anymore.
Yeah.
But that's what we would do. We were like just like Jay and Silent Bob, and me and my friend Lewis, we'd stand in the same poses on the side of the side of the wall at 7-Eleven. We'd like just do
Hmm.
the Jay and Silent Bob pose. And there was one Halloween where we were Jay and Silent Bob, and we just stood in
Yeah.
we just stood in front of the 7-Eleven drinking Slurpees, and that was it. That was our
Yeah.
Halloween. We did that for like maybe an hour or two. Like we'd also like there was one guy who like worked at the 7-Eleven too, that was maybe like a few years older than us, that was
Hmm.
also into metal. So like every once in a while we'd go there, we'd go there, he'd be there, and like I'd make a bootleg of whatever like the new like Slayer album was or something like that. I'd give it to him, and then we just listen to it because he was the only one there. So we'd just go in the store
Hmm.
and we'd listen to it, and we'd just hang out and just whatever. So I basically embodied Clerks. Like I had the Clerks lifestyle for several years,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But that's just it had an impact on my life, not only in that way, which now it isn't quite the same as a 30-year-old, but I think it shaped me comedically. I think it shaped me in the way that I like thought of things. They're also like a lot of the people in the movie are like outsiders, and they're just having regular conversations, and a lot of them are like very nerdy. You know,
Yeah.
like in Clerks, where they got where like where they're having the casual conversation with the customer about how the stormtroopers are like were
Or no,
independent
it was the
contractors.
independent contractors on the Death Star
Right.
get blown up. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like they knew what they were doing. It's similar to like my friend, I'm a roofer or whatever, and my friend's a I forget it.
It was his friend who's also a roofer, and
Yeah,
basically what happens is like some mob boss like offers them a job, and he turns it down and gives it to his friend, and then his friend gets like shot in a drive-by shooting because like it
yeah,
was a mob boss's house, you know.
yeah, and he
So
was like, I knew the risk, so I didn't take it. My
yeah,
friend wasn't so lucky. They like the stormtroopers, like the people who were working on the Death Star, they knew what they were getting into.
yeah,
So it's not this doesn't fall on the Empire.
yeah. I think the
Like,
appeal really comes from the fact that it's like with every kid growing up in like suburban America, kind of like had. It's like it was like the first movies like and series and like Mallrats included in this too because like
yeah,
growing up in New Jersey, that's what we did. We went to the mall to hang out. That was where I grew up originally. Uh, Down in northeastern New Jersey, there was probably about 7 or 8 malls within like a 20-minute drive of my
yeah, I
house.
remember mall days when like I didn't
Um,
go to the mall frequently, but like every once in a while I'd go to the malls. But
yeah,
I didn't like it was just a cool day.
yeah. Well, it's like I think the View Askewniverse kind of like really it was the first movies made for like kids that grew up in like the suburbs in especially in like the northeast suburbs where like we have access to all like malls and like like convenience stores are on every corner. you know
Sure.
um it's like this is like our life that we grew up with, so I think that's why it was really so successful, especially with you know this generation, like kids that grew up in the 80s and 90s.
Right, well, he captured it in the dialogue because there was nothing like a lot of times you'll see a movie and like you'll see a dialogue or whatever or like people will be having a conversation, two actors, and you're like nobody would say that.
Yeah,
Or you're just like, okay, that wouldn't happen, or this isn't realistic, or there's no way they would get away with that, or
hmm,
like just in conversation, you're like, nobody talks like that, nobody would
yeah,
say that, no one has that, no one ever uses those words. Like I don't now it's taking me out of the thing where the
yeah,
dialogue in Kevin Smith's movies are very it's realistic dialogue.
yeah,
It's like a lot of it might be stupid, but a lot of people have stupid conversations.
yeah, it's yeah,
And like the casual nature of the ebb and flow that the characters are going through and the engaging, it's very realistic. I mean,
yes,
also it's easier because they're all just friends in real life, and
yeah,
they're just playing off of each other because they just have the natural chemistry as friends.
hmm,
So it's a lot easier.
yeah,
But that's what makes it work. Is like it's like it has memorable dialogue, and the content is engaging. It's also like how Quentin Tarantino movies are also phenomenal dialogue because it's realistic dialogue.
yeah,
Like even if it's like a weird conversation, like in Reservoir Dogs when they're having the conversation at the diner about what Like a Virgin's really about.
right,
This is I could see a conversation like this happening, maybe not between like gangsters, but I could see it happening with somebody.
yeah,
I could see a big conversation about this song taking place in a diner as to what it's really about, and maybe and if there's certain maybe like men of a certain age having the exact same conversation, sure.
yeah,
Like would gangsters say it?
probably. I
maybe
don't know.
they
I think
yeah. Who
gangsters could
knows?
probably say it.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah,
But like the dialogue in itself is realistic. Like I wouldn't
hmm,
say, oh, they like no, like somebody wouldn't say that. Like yeah, it's words that I can imagine people would say because people really talk. Like that's what makes it memorable because people really talk like that.
yeah,
but we've got, he makes, so the View Askewniverse, it makes up a significant portion of Kevin Smith's catalog, and it's like the whole. Here we go. So the movies in the View Askewniverse are Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks 2, Jay and Silent Bob Super Groovy Cartoon Movie. That one I've never seen, actually. Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Clerks 3 when it comes out, which he's working on. And Twilight of the Mallrats, which is going to be Mallrats 2. I guess that's the working title for it or the permanent title. I'm not sure.
That'll be an interesting movie to see what he does because of like how the malls have changed, especially in the last 10 or 15 years or so. How the mall is dying basically as a business model. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with that.
I had read that he was planning on blowing up the mall, or like the mall was going to be, or like the original mall was going to be demolished, and he either was there or wanted to be there to capture it. I'm not sure if he actually did, but that was a plan at one point for him to capture the mall's destruction, and he wanted to basically blow up the mall in the movie.
Yeah.
But, I mean, his movies are also rich with social commentary.
Yes. Well, I think that's why,
that's also why it works.
Kind of changed. Yeah, they've changed over, the years, too. It's like the problems of the 90s are different from the problems of the 2000s. And you could see that in the View Askewniverse and how, even like in the difference between Clerks 1 and 2, like, you would almost not say that they're the same series because, like, they are so different. Again, it could be because Clerks 1 was such a low budget, and Clerks 2, he obviously at this point had way bigger budget, had major studio backing and stuff. But I think that, also just the changing landscape
his movies still stick to a relatively low budget compared to, like, other movies.
Yes. Well, yeah, and when these are, like, again, they're dialogue-heavy movies that's not, like, they're not really about, like, big special effects or anything crazy, big sets, anything like that. They're pretty much filmed, like, you think about even Clerks 2 is pretty much almost filmed exclusively entirely in the movies, except for, like, the scene that they're in jail and when Dante and Randall go ride go-karts. They're pretty much always in the movies. Same thing with Clerks 1. They're pretty much always in the convenience store, except for like when they're in the video store, and when Randall goes out to the other video store, and then briefly you see them running out of the funeral home when they are at the funeral, but you don't actually see inside the funeral home. Right. So, but for the most part, it's all in the convenience store. So it's easier to have a low budget movie when you only have pretty much like a few sets, like under 5 sets that you have to film on. So I think that. It's definitely, like, even after he, Clerks 2, they had the major studio backing. They didn't really necessarily need, like, millions upon millions of dollars because they didn't need, like, all this money to make all these different sets and special effects and all that, But, I think that, the way he was really able to capture the different tones of society, like how society had changed in each of the movies. You could really see, like, over the course of the whole View Askewniverse, how, like, society had fundamentally changed because of, like, how the comedy had changed. They have some topical jokes in there that change over time. So, there's also, several spin-offs from this View Askewniverse. You have, like, the Clerks comic books and the Clerks animated series, which I don't know if you ever see. I have the animated series on DVD. It's pretty hilarious.
I've seen
it. It was only 6 episodes.
It was on.
It was on ABC.
Yeah, I remember years ago. I saw it on demand when I had early FiOS, like when it was first a thing.
It was originally.
It was good. It was a pretty good cartoon. But it didn't last that long.
No. two episodes were, or 6 episodes were originally produced. Only 2 were shown on its original run on ABC. It was later put into syndication and ran, I believe, on Adult Swim. So that, that's where I originally saw it, was on Adult Swim, and then I eventually just bought
Maybe
the DVD.
that's where I saw it on demand.
Yeah. The person actually who designed the characters, Steven Silver, was also the one who did the characters for Danny Phantom and Kim Possible, the cartoon on Disney Channel and Nickelodeon.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I like the way they did the animated series, because it was, obviously it's animation, so it could be a little bit, they could do a little bit more crazy things that they wouldn't be able to do in live action.
I think they got the same actors too to reprise.
Yes, they did.
Which I love when they do that. They do that more. You see that more with animation than anything else.
And also, I think the animated series, they got a little bit more surrealist with the humor, which I like. I like a lot of surreal humor, so I think it worked really well with Clerks.
They did. I was gonna say they continued it. It wasn't really like its own, like it was kind of its own thing, but it still felt within the. It still felt like it could have just taken place in a movie if they just like it. It didn't feel like, oh, this is a cartoon version. It just felt like, oh, this is. It just felt like it was a storyboarded scene that wasn't shot from one of the movies.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt more of like a continuation. Like, it really felt... It felt more like a continuation. Kind of like how like, Merciful Fate ended up, basically... How Merciful Fate broke up, and then, like, King Diamond, when King Diamond, like, struck it out on his own as a solo artist, the King Diamond albums were an extension of the Merciful Fate style. Yeah. Like it wasn't like it was Merciful Fate is its own thing and then King Diamond is totally separate, totally different project. Like he links the two, and I thought like it's similar to that for me.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. I wish that they would do. Oh no, I know where now I remember they showed it on G4 or Tech TV as it later became known.
Okay.
That's where I saw it.
Yeah.
I missed that channel. I missed that show. I loved X-Play. That show was awesome, and I loved Code Monkeys.
Yeah, X-Play was amazing. Yeah, Code Monkeys was funny.
Code Monkeys was hilarious. We should do an episode on just that channel. I mean, they did a reunion thing like last year, I think. Just to get everybody back together. Morgan Webb is still a babe. Olivia Munn ended up being the most successful one on there. She's still...
Well, yeah, she's like an actress now.
Yeah, she's still smoking. And Adam Sessler is still awesome and funny.
Yeah.
It was... It was cool. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it was like... It was nice to just see everybody again.
Yeah.
I just missed the show, X-Play. I mean...
X-Play was hilarious. They had a lot of good skits on X-Play.
Yeah, they really did. And they also had Robot Wars Extreme Warriors on that show.
Yeah.
I loved that show.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, I don't know if it's
Ninja Warrior, the original Ninja Warrior from Japan was on before.
Yeah. I mean, that show, I think, like, saved the channel for a little while.
Yeah.
But, I mean, ultimately, I don't know. I forgot what happened. I want to say another cable company bought or another network bought that channel, and then they just
I think that's pretty much what happened.
Or changed it, which sounds like corporate America to me.
They started just showing like nothing but like reruns of like Star Trek and like that show Cheaters or whatever. Like
I remember that.
It got really like repetitive, and like they took pretty much all the like shows like X-Play. They stopped producing X-Play. Attack of the Show kind of like went on for a little bit, but even then, like they stopped doing that. I think X-Play basically became a segment on Attack of the Show, and that was like their only like video game related content on the whole channel after they like retooled. So it just got really bad, which is sad because that was like when I was in high school, that was like my favorite TV channel because it was
me too. That was the only thing I'd have on. I'd have on either that or Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And I just go between the two.
Yep.
and then they killed it. And I mean, Adam Sessler, he's gotten a lot more critical of the gaming industry.
Yeah,
more recently.
I think he's gotten a little bitter over time just because of all,
yeah. I mean, but he did a really good job, like just exposing the of just overall exposing the gaming industry for like taking advantage of people with DLC and what the hell do they call it? Loot boxes.
Yeah.
Which I think have been banned now.
In certain countries. So in the European Union, the European Union actually sued, I believe, EA was where this started and made it so.
Was this
because they considered loot boxes as a form of gambling? Yeah,
was this
specifically over Battlefront.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And they pretty much like mandated that loot boxes are like illegal, that you can't do it because it's literally a form of gambling because you can pay real money to do it.
Well, and I think they were able to prove that they like skewed the rare ones to be like a lot more rare than they were letting on.
Yes. I think someone did the math once, and like to actually unlock all the content in Battlefront 2, you would have had to play for like tens of thousands of hours. Like it was some obscene amount of time to like do it without paying money. But you could just pay money and get it like way faster. So that was like the controversy behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure now like they pretty much have made it so everything is like equally unlockable. There's no more like smaller chance of getting this rare thing. It's like everything has to be equally unlockable, and you could do it all for free without having to grind for thousands upon thousands of hours.
Yeah, there's a thing with I mean, I don't know if it really holds that much weight, but like supposedly this is like a thing that like Wizards of the Coast is afraid of, or like trading card games. Supposedly this is a big thing. Is like the is like they do this. Like supposedly this is done with Magic the Gathering, where where like people are. Supposedly there can be like a class action lawsuit in theory against Wizards of the Coast with reprints and things like that, and all these like extra rare cards that have gone up in value on the secondary market, which Wizards of the Coast refuses to acknowledge because if they did, then they would basically be saying, okay, yeah, we intentionally did we did this so that other people could profit off of it, and like we can't like they can't admit to it, and or acknowledge that it exists. And I don't know. Supposedly, there's provable math that you could point to the rare card, that you could point to like certain cards that they like, that they'll like when they design a set. You know that there's that, like, in order to attempt to balance, like when you design cards or a game or anything, there has to be checks and balances. So when you're making, let's just say a 200, let's just say you're making 300, you're making a 300 card set. So, and you know that each card has to be of a certain rarity: common, uncommon, rare, and extra rare, whatever you want to call it. Right? So you make these, so you have to, so like the ratio has to be pretty, it has to be adequate. So like 1 in 5 you'll get a rare. 1 in 3 you'll get a common. There's a 1 in 1 chance you'll get a common. There's a 1 in 3 chance you'll get an uncommon. There's a 1 in 5 chance you'll get a rare. There's a 1 in 10 chance you'll get a super rare, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
So you have to like spread out the ratio, and when you're designing it, you have like to check and balance it. You have to, some cards are just naturally going to be better than others.
Right.
And that's just how the game is played. If someone can figure out a way to like break it and like, find a way to like to create like some crazy combo with a card that you designed with the intention of being one of the lower power cards, and like they saw a loophole in something else that you did that ends up making the card way better than it should be, that's good for them. But there's supposedly a thing in like the Magic community where there's provable math that the company is intentionally pushing. They're intentionally making cards that are better, that much better, which fine, but they are doing so, and in the print numbers, they are telling the printing companies to print a certain number of these cards. So they're limiting the print number of the really good pushed cards. This is what the community says. This is what people on YouTube say. I have no idea if this is true. I'm just saying that this is allegedly what they're saying as far as YouTube videos go, and like Discord service and all this other stuff. This is just a rumor thing.
So basically making artificial demand for these cards.
Right. Yeah. That's like allegedly this is what the case is. I have no idea if this is actually provable, but supposedly they're being dishonest with the cards that they intentionally know they're designing to be really, really, really good.
I mean, this kind of stuff happens a lot.
It can happen.
Video...
Could it happen? Yeah, probably. But I don't know if it's true in this regard. But if they did do it, if people did sue and they did do a big class action lawsuit and they presented it to the gaming commissions, then it would basically shut down the company or something like that.
Well, I know it's
allegedly. I don't know how true that is, or if anybody, but if the community decides to actually do it and they get tired of shady business practices and things that Wizards of the Coast is known for doing, then if they just get tired of all these or of them not giving the reprints of things that they want, or they get tired of what they're doing in the game or whatever it is, if they get tired of these things and they just say enough's enough, let's just get together and do a class action lawsuit. We can prove that this is,
well, that's the thing, is proving it's happening.
Yeah, if they can actually prove it and take it to the gaming commission.
Unless you get a whistleblower on the inside, it's probably going to be really hard to do.
Right, and then supposedly it'll kill the company, but I have no idea. People have just been saying this for years. They haven't done anything about it, so that leads me to believe that it might just be a theory and speculation. I have no idea, because nobody's done anything.
The problem is that, because this happens all the time with, specifically with video games, where when a new console comes out, Nintendo is a perfect example. When the Switch first came out, they purposely only made X amount of units, say 3 million units or something, that pretty much sold out immediately, right, in pre-orders, and then they delay when they're going to release more units. And what it does is that it creates this artificial demand. It's Nintendo Switch's consoles sell out in the first day. Well, yeah, it's easy when you only have 3 million units in circulation, to sell out in the first day. And, basically it creates demand for it, because it's all of a sudden now, they sold. First of all, it's oh crap, they sold out. It must mean it's a really good console because they sold out so fast. And second of all, now everyone wants to buy one, so they can release FOMO. It. Right, and now they know that they can release it in another only 3 million units or 1 million units, and they'll immediately sell out again because everyone all of a sudden wants one, right? And there's no way you can actually prove that, because Nintendo will just say, "Oh, well, production problems. We didn't anticipate." That's what their excuse is. We didn't anticipate this much demand for it, which is
that's a bold-faced lie, but okay.
Yeah, because they have a team of accountants that's gonna freaking fact check every little possible figure and see how much they could possibly sell, and and do market research to see what the demand is before they even release it. It's
of course, and they have God knows how many warehouses of of stuff ready to be launched.
Yes, yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's the warehouse might have 40 million units, but the initial run, they're okay, we're only going to ship out 3.
Yeah. So it's it's one of those things where it's probably happening with Magic the Gathering, but it's impossible to prove, because they'll just say that. They'll just say, "Oh, well, we ran into production problems," or we weren't anticipating the demand. And there's no way you could prove it unless there's someone on the inside that's yeah, they were, and here's the figures to prove it,
Right. And I mean, they have pretty bad Glassdoor reviews, but I have no idea, I have no idea who exactly is going to do that, and whoever would have those numbers, I imagine that they would have a pretty cushy gig there.
Yeah.
You'd probably have to be in the finance department, or at least in like.
And I'm sure they have NDAs, and like that's the thing. Everyone that worked for the company has to sign an NDA, so it's
of course.
You come out and say anything, they're like, "Oh, well, you just broke your NDA, so we're going to sue you now for $3 million or something."
Yeah, you can't. There's no friggin' way there's no way that you'd want to risk it.
Yeah.
So who the hell knows? Where